Hey y'all, it's Sharon and I'm back to share another policing experience with you along with a perspective. If you're new to the channel, I'm a retired detective. I worked for 20 years for a southeastern city in the US and I was also in the military. I'm sharing my experiences along with my perspectives in hopes of helping others in similar situations and also to provide some accountability on an institutional level. And I'm sharing my policing experiences about that. So on an individual basis, we always talk about the bad apples and we see it as an individual officer thing. But by me sharing my experiences, I'm showing you a behind the lens of my eyes look through what I experienced and how it's just not based on bad apples because we could deal with the fruit all day. When do we deal with the tree, which is the criminal justice system and policing? I am of the opinion that policing needs to be reformed. It doesn't need to be abolished, just reformed. And I'm going to share two quick ideas on how we can get that started within policing, mind you. One of them is I remember during my policing days in a patrol car, we would have rolling roadblocks, if you will. They'll set up a roadblock over here. 2 hours later, we're somewhere else in the city. And I noticed that when we did the roadblocks, they were always in low income areas. And my mindset was, well, we're going to find more people violating the equipment's laws for their vehicles, more so in the ritzy to do high income areas because they usually have, their tags together, their registration together. And so I never thought of it any deeper than that. Let's go get these numbers because the community's coming down on us. Because if I shared like before, if I sit on a corner for 45 minutes, I'm doing nothing. And the sergeant would come down on us like, you need to produce quota, some people might say. You want to keep your days off, or don't you want to earn your paycheck? I go out there and I go get the bodies. But back up to the roadblock and where we would go to do these roadblocks, usually in black and brown areas, poor areas. And we set up the roadblocks, catch a few, chase a few, arrest a few. And like I said, I never took it any deeper than that in thought. And I've shared, my whole experience of being a patrol officer in the area that I policed. I'll put the link in the description for the video where I talked about that. But reforming the police, how about we not do roadblocks? How about we, instead of doing roadblocks, we do something in terms of how many community meetings did you attend as an officer? And we could provide a point system for that. Or instead of traffic tickets, how many schools did you visit for the month? And I can hear people talking about, well, where does the policing come in? Well, I could also ask a question on how many times have you caught a robbery suspect or a murder suspect in the act? Usually you get them after, people tell, you go get the warrant as a detective and things like that. Most of the time, officers are answering quality of life issue type calls. And that's most of their career, most of the month, most of the day. We talked about specialized units last week, so I won't even get into that. But the basic patrol officer is answering quality of life issues most of the time. And like I said, the community has a part to play in this also, because when they call and they complain about crime, we're talking about crime, violent crime, things that are happening in the home, and alcohol's involved. And usually that's in the home. And we can't have officers just sitting in people's houses waiting for stuff to jump off. It's kind of hard to control. It's more of a social issue with the drinking problems and things like that. But yeah, when people complain about crime, they're talking about usually gun crime or murder or something like that. Oh, car theft. I was on the car theft unit. And a lot of times, 98.9% of the times, we're getting there after the fact is over, after the break-in has occurred. So trying to be proactive then we send those specialized units into those areas. And while they're looking for stolen vehicles, they run into other things. But we're saturating the area. And so reforming the police, I think we need to get rid of just traffic stops in general. Just get rid of them in terms of, seeing somebody not use a turn signal and then we're going to go after them, or the brake light is out. Maybe there's probably like once a year or twice a year where they can go pull into the emissions station and make sure all their stuff is working. Something like that can happen. I'm just giving you ideas and perspectives because I've been in the police officer's seat and I'm still a civilian, regardless of what time I get off work or retired or not. It'll break down that us versus them type idea that is indoctrinated in our heads once we go through the academy. Because like I told you, I was a part of us. When I took off my uniform, I became a part of them. And that shouldn't happen, huh? Not saying I'm a criminal or I shouldn't. I'm not talking about that us versus, I'm talking about the us versus them that we carry home with us as officers. Everybody's suspect. Everybody's a perp. I talked about that when in other situations and just dealing with a self-evaluation type thing that officers need to go through. And a lot of us don't do it. We don't self-evaluate. We evaluate everybody else, but we don't evaluate ourselves. And I told you about that in my issue in terms of whistleblowing, and twice, mind you. And then my faith and the Holy Spirit's like, I need for you to deal with your heart, and I need for you to see what's going on inside of you. Don't mind them. I talked about that and doing this self-inventory and how I was policing, from everything to the way I was talking to people, engaging people, to what I expected in my own community from the police officers. And I just gave you 2 ideas instead of traffic tickets. How many community meetings did you go to this month? Instead of roadblocks? How many schools did you go just pop up and say hi to the kids, maybe even speak to the kids? We can actually build up a point system for that. Now, how is the city going to make money? I don't know. That's their issue. But just some things. I just want to share some ideas with you. Now, okay, let me back up. Of course, as police officers, if there's a crime being committed in front of us, like an assault or something like that, yes, please react. Please do your job. Do what you need to do. But I'm talking about the things that put a heaviness on a particular group of people, a particular community. The example that I gave, sitting on the corner for 45 minutes. My sergeant's getting called. Walters is just sitting there. I need for you to go out and get these bodies and these traffic tickets. It puts pressure on me, the sergeant, and the community. And I'm supposed to be protecting and serving. So I'm talking about things like that, those type of issues. And a lot of times during the traffic stops is when you see that engagement escalate, and it turns into something deadly when it shouldn't have. So if we got rid of that, you probably see you'll see more confidence in the police. And I'll just leave it there on reforming the police. But just those 2 ideas. Get into our schools in terms of being friendly, showing up. Sometimes your presence in the hallways will stop a lot of things from escalating with kids and fighting and all that stuff. Do that. And also come to some of the community meetings. The community that you're policing need to see you, need to hear you, need to hear from you. Not what you can do. More or less, your presence is enough. And then you listen to them, because as police officers, we're always stepping in. Well, this is what you need to do in somebody else's house. No, just show up. And I think the community can appreciate that more so than anything else. But it's just my thoughts. I'll share more next week. Take a look at our online store. The link is in the description. Hit like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. I'll definitely hit you back. And always remember, you don't necessarily have to go through a thing to learn from it. Talk to you guys later. Bye.